So to submit a care referral, you're going to log into Symplicity the same way you would to submit an incident report. You'll be back at this home screen, and this red button will allow you to submit a care referral. So again, you're going to want to start by including your name and your email. You'll always want to use your TCNJ email. When you are submitting a care referral for a student, you will want to always select O1. Again, most frequently used. That's generally what we're using when we're submitting a care referral about a student. For this question, has the student been hospitalized for the mental health concern? Only answer yes if you know for sure. If you're not sure, you can answer no. This section you shouldn't touch. This is for Dean of Student Staff only, so you don't need to change this. And for sensitive, you should always select no. Again, they can change that after if they need to. So for date and time of concern, you can select the appropriate date and time. We know that sometimes it might be more difficult to actually select a specific date and time if it's an ongoing concern with a student. So what might be easiest is to select the time that you became aware of the situation going on. For location of concern, you're going to want to pay attention to this one because it might not necessarily be your residential building. So it could be that your resident comes to you in Centennial and tells you about a situation they're dealing with, and that's where you have that interaction. However, if they happen to send you a text or an email or any kind of message, you're going to want to select this virtual area because that just allows us to better understand how you became aware of the situation. For students involved, again, similar to submitting an incident report, you can search for a student by last name or by ID number. For other involved individuals, these are non-students, so this you probably won't use too often, but if you happen to know, as you're working with a student who is going through a concern, that they have a guest with them, this might be where you put that information. So for example, if your resident falls down and sprains their ankle, and they have a guest with them, you could put their information here. For student witnesses, these are any students who either witnessed the incident or maybe even students who came to you and shared that they had a concern. So if a resident comes to you and says, hey, I'm really worried about my roommate, they're not going to class, they're really just not taking care of themselves, you might want to put them here in this student witnesses box. And other witnesses, again, if any staff report to campus, you can definitely put them here, or any non-student witnesses who might be present. So for example, if a parent happens to be present, you could definitely include them here. So in your report writing module, we talk more about exactly what you need to include in this narrative, but again, you want to be as specific as you can and include as much detail as you have. You want to especially note any resources that you refer the student to or that they may already be utilizing either on or off campus. So if, for example, they are already working with a counselor off campus and they are already connected to some offices on campus that are providing them with support, you're going to want to note that in your narrative. For professional staff notification, again, you will want to select any professional staff who you notified, so that can include, talking with your residence director about a concern or contacting pro staff on duty. For professional staff responded, again, if anybody actually reports to the scene with you, you will select that. If any campus police come to the scene, you can definitely include them there. And again, you can always contact dispatch after the fact. If you forget to ask for their badge numbers, you can just call the main campus police line. If EMS is called, you can select yes. If you're not sure or if you're dismissed from the incident before you can always select no, and we can change that later if something changes. And you'll want to include any EMS badge numbers of anybody who shows up. For transport to the hospital, again, you're only going to want to select yes here if you are actually sure that they're transported. A lot of times when a student is experiencing a mental health crisis, student staff may not be present at the incident scene, when that decision is made. So if you're not sure, select no. For CSSRS evaluation, again, this is not something that our student staff administer, so you're always going to select no, and if professional staff do administer it, they will check yes later. You don't need to fill this out because you don't do the CSSRS evaluation. Generally, you won't have any other notes that you need to include here. All of your information should really be in your concern narrative. And then lastly, for attaching documents and uploading things, again, remember, it's always a good idea to consult with professional staff when you're going to be doing this. But you may want to upload attachments if they're relevant. So for example, if a resident sends you a really concerning message via GroupMe, you may want to take a screenshot and include that in the report. Sometimes residents will send you screenshots that they have taken because they're concerned about a friend, and so if you can get those and include them, that's always a good idea too. Just make sure you touch base with your supervisor. Again, when you finish your report, you're going to want to click Submit, and that will trigger the report to be delivered to your residence director, the assistant directors, and the director, as well as the Dean of Students' office.